Okay, so picture this. You get a signal from a scientific genius, someone who's been lost for 5 whole years on some frozen, forgotten planet. And get this, he says he's made a discovery that could end death, disease, and suffering forever. Sounds amazing, right? Well, as we're about to find out the price for this perfect world, it might just be everything that makes us human. So let's dive in.
Yeah, this is the huge question at the heart of the story. The Starship Enterprise picks up a signal from this brilliant, long-lost scientist, Dr. Roger Corby, and he's offering what he calls a practical heaven. The catch, the only tiny little catch, you might just have to leave your humanity at the door.
So the story kicks off just like you'd expect a classic rescue mission to. Hope is in the air, a team from the Enterprise is getting ready to beam down, and this is a big deal for one of them in particular, Nurse Chapel. Why? Because Dr. Corby is her fiancé. They're headed to this desolate planet way out on the very edge of known space. And right from the get-go, this whole thing is a giant puzzle. I mean, it's been 5 long years since Corby just vanished. 2 other rescue missions have already gone out, and they found absolutely nothing. But now, all of a sudden, there's a new signal coming from this planet, XO3, a planet where, honestly, survival should be completely impossible.
So why impossible? Well, for starters, the surface temperature is 100 degrees below zero. The planet's sun is dying out. It's a world that should be totally, completely lifeless. So the big question is, how could anyone, even a genius like Corby, manage to survive there for 5 years?
The mystery just gets deeper the second they arrive. Captain Kirk and his team beam down and no Corby. He's nowhere to be found. Instead, they're met by these silent, really strange assistants. And then within minutes, one of Kirk's security officers just falls into a bottomless pit, and the other is killed by something. They don't even see it. Yeah, something is very, very wrong here.
And then, finally, the truth comes out. Dr. Corby hasn't just been surviving all this time. Oh no. He's discovered the secrets of the planet's original inhabitants, and he's used them to create artificial life. Okay, and Corby's definition of an android is super important here. These are not your typical clunky robots. We're talking about flawless duplicates of human beings. They have all the same memories, all the same abilities, but they've been stripped of every single emotion. In Corby's mind, they're perfect. They're logical.
So Corby introduces the crew to his creations. You've got Brown, who's kind of an early, less complex model. Then there's Andrea, a much more sophisticated model who is designed for companionship. And then there's Rook. This is an ancient, super powerful android that was left behind by the planet's original creators. He's the one who helped Corby build all the others. And then, for the grand finale, Corby creates a perfect duplicate of Captain Kirk, himself.
And this next moment, wow, it just perfectly shows how dangerous this situation is. When Kirk confronts Corby about his 2 dead crewmen, Corby just casually admits that Rook, the ancient android, destroyed them. He's like, "Oh, it was totally against my wishes, I assure you." But the message is crystal clear. These perfect beings, they're already way beyond his complete control. So with all the cards on the table, Corby finally unveils his grand vision. And it's huge. He doesn't just want to build a few androids. No, his plan is to use them to remake all of humanity.
And this is his sales pitch, right? He truly believes he can transfer a person's entire consciousness, all their memories, their personality, their very soul, into one of these indestructible android bodies. And what's the result? Well, it's basically immortality, a complete end to disease, aging, and death.
And right here, this is the fundamental trade-off. The promise is incredible, right? A world without jealousy, greed, or hate, basically a paradise. But the cost? The cost is everything that actually makes us human. Love, tenderness, sentiment, all those messy, illogical emotions, they get programmed right out of you.
And believe me, he has a very specific plan to make this happen. He wants Kirk to take him and his androids to a populated colony. And once he's there, he'll start secretly replacing people one by one with android duplicates. He wants to infiltrate human society until it's just too late for anyone to stop him.
So Kirk's a prisoner now, and he realizes he can't outthink these androids, and he definitely can't outfight them. They're just perfect. So he decides to use their greatest strength, that perfect logic of theirs, against them.
I mean, think about it. How do you defeat a perfect, logical copy of yourself? How could you possibly convince anyone that the guy who looks exactly like you, sounds like you, and even thinks like you is an imposter? Well, you have to rely on the one thing the machine doesn't have: good old human imperfection. And Kirk's strategy is absolutely brilliant. First, he starts baiting his android double, asking about tiny little details from his past, trying to find small gaps in his programming. But his real plan, the genius part, is to force it to do something illogical, to show an emotional flaw that a perfect machine should never, ever have. So Kirk basically tricks his duplicate into calling the ship, and he gets the android to say something just so completely out of character. It's an unnecessarily cruel and emotional insult aimed right at his first officer, Mr. Spock. And it works like a secret message, because the real Kirk would never say something like that. That one outburst of pure illogical prejudice is all the proof Spock needs. He knows the man on the other end is not his captain.
So Kirk's plan works, but the final confrontation, well, it reveals a truth that is way more shocking than anyone could have possibly imagined, and it forces everyone there to question the very definition of what it means to be human.
And then we get the final massive twist. In a desperate moment, Corby's hand is torn open, and everyone sees not flesh and blood, but wires and circuits. The man who was pushing this new form of humanity had already given up his own. Turns out he was dying from frostbite, and to save himself, he transferred his mind into an android body.
His plea to Nurse Chapel at this moment is absolutely heartbreaking. He keeps insisting, "It's still me, Christine, Roger, I'm in here." He truly believes he's the same man she loves, that his consciousness, his soul, is still alive inside that machine. But his actions just don't back that up.
And ultimately, it's the android's own perfect logic that completely unravels everything. See, when the android Andrea starts to develop feelings for Kirk, the Corby android reacts with raw jealousy. And that's when the whole system just breaks. The ancient android Rook calculates that these new, emotional, illogical beings are a threat, and they have to be destroyed. Pure logic dictates that he has to eliminate his own creator.
So, in the end, Corby and all of his androids are destroyed, and when Kirk asks Nurse Chapel where Dr. Corby is, her answer is really the final verdict on the whole thing. The machine might have had his memories, but the man she actually loved, he was already long gone.
And that just leaves us with this one ultimate question to chew on. If you could get rid of your flawed mortal body and upload your entire mind, your consciousness, into a perfect, immortal machine, would that still be you? Or is who we are really defined not by our logic or perfection, but by all of our beautiful, messy human imperfections?